Guys, thank you so much for coming back and clicking on another video, and welcome if you're new. My name is Taddy G and this channel is all about me building my clothing brand. Thank you so much for the love on my last video. I was so nervous to release that video, and even like the times that I've watched it back, because I'm that person, like I will watch it back at least 6 times, and each time I was watching it back I was kind of getting like emotional. That was a lot, but I'm really glad that I released that, because I feel like it was super important to show that, you know, not all that glitters is gold. So this video was actually meant to be me, you know, talking about my business plan and stuff, but then I deeped that I can't really just drop a video like that, because, you know, I've just spoken about how I've lost £20,000 and now it's like back to regular programming, when really what I should be talking about is how I'm still here. So it's April 2020 and I've just lost £20,000, which includes the stock that I had intended to sell, like the stock that people had been waiting for. Like I was like, they're coming in April, I'll be restocking them in April, and I was happy, I was gassed. And obviously y'all know what happened. If you haven't watched that video, then please pause this video, open another tab and watch how I lost £20,000. I will link, like, you know, one of those little pop-up things that come up here so that you can just click there, watch that video and then come back to this video. Cool. So I was in that position and there was pretty much like nothing that I could do about it. The first thing that I had to tell myself in order to cope with that situation that I was in is that you cannot dwell on things that are out of your control. Like this was officially out of my control. Those tracksuits weren't meant to be. I probably did get to the point where I was like, maybe is not meant to be, but I quickly came out of that mindset, because, you know, this is my dream and a lot of entrepreneurs go through this. So at this point I was in a very difficult position. I had quit my job to go to Paris, guys. I didn't have a job. Bills needed to be paid and I just lost pretty much my livelihood and quite a bit of money. And of course, the world is going crazy. I wasn't broke. I did have a little bit of money to work with. So I thought to myself, okay, there's one of two things that I can do right now. I can give up, try look for a job, or I can pivot, change things a little bit, change like how I'm gonna present Shiva to the world for just this period of time, just this time, in order to, you know, regain momentum, get a bit of money in my bank. And I decided to, well, I'm here. You kind of sort of know what I decided to do. I decided to pivot. So out of this came the Handmade Collection. I had to strip it back and spend less, but use a little bit more of my time, because at that point in time, I didn't really have that much money to spend, but I had pretty much had all the time in the world, you know. The one-day t-shirts were doing okay. They weren't occupying too much of my time. And, you know, they were already made and stocked anyway, so it's just a case of posting them. So I had quite a bit of time on my hands to actually sit down and sew this collection. So I invested in a serger and I started sewing these summer pieces. I've got my serger, so I've got the lilac thread coming through at some point in the next couple days. So I need to sew that, do the pictures for it, upload them on the website, and I'm probably not gonna have time to send them to a model, so I think that's where you come in.
Me?
Yes! The Handmade Collection is mainly made up of pieces that are aimed at women, because at the time, you know, I had to think of things that I can actually sew. Like I wasn't going to generate £20,000 in sales with this Handmade Collection, but I did want to just try and recoup some of the money that I'd lost, so that I just didn't feel as terrible as I did, and so that I had like a little bit of money to invest in my winter collection, which I was beginning to like plan. So the Handmade Collection was all about regaining power and taking that power back. I did make a whole video which is on my IGTV on the Shiva Instagram page. I'll link it down below, and that goes into more depth about, you know, what the Handmade Collection is all about, what it's inspired by, and all that kind of stuff. From doing this Handmade Collection, like so much came out of it, because, you know, I felt like it was actually going to be the beginning of something great. And at the time of actually filming that IGTV like documentary-esque video, I actually stated that I feel like this is going to be the start of something like like quite amazing. We kind of had a more clear vision of what we wanted Shiva to be moving forward. So after launching the Handmade Collection, obviously we're still in the pandemic, so we actually had like a Instagram live launch party, which was so great. We gained so many followers from that, actually, come to think of it. From that, I did become a little bit overwhelmed with the sewing, in all honesty. Like, I'm not a professional seamstress at all. I probably did cry a couple times because there was this one particular piece, yeah, it just wasn't going right, and I had to sew it like 3-4 times. So I did start looking into like getting a seamstress, or even dare I say it, like getting a manufacturer for it. Guys, I'm sorry, like I needed help, and there was no way, there's no chance I was gonna go abroad for this. So I was looking only primarily at manufacturers in the UK, and I did actually find a manufacturer in the UK that was able to make that Handmade Collection for me. And unfortunately, but this one I don't cry about because I actually didn't lose out on that much money when it came to this. I lost out on a little bit of money because of obviously like going up and down to Leicester and staying in Leicester and that kind of stuff to make sure that things were being done how I wanted it to be done, but still it wasn't done how I wanted it to be done. To be fair, it was just a fabric, and I would have never known until I had like washed the stuff. I was quite happy with the pieces on face value. They're still in my office downstairs in a box along with the tracksuit, but I chose not to sell those things because after wearing it and washing it, you know, there's like little bubbles that like come up on certain materials when you've like worn them maybe like more than once, or they've gone through the washer. Like that was starting to form on some of the pieces, and I was just like, nah, like even though like it's not that, nah, it's that deep, I can't even sit here and lie, like it is that deep. Shiva, you know, the most important thing for me is material and the quality of the garment. But fortunately for me, I actually didn't have to pay for the manufacturing of those stuff. To be honest, I don't really know what happened there, but I feel like we kind of came to like some sort of like mutual, you know, understanding. But I was back at square one, being overwhelmed and having to like sew everything myself, but that was all good, you know, it was occupying my time. But I cannot lie, this Handmade Collection, it wasn't really gonna hold me up, really. If it wasn't for what was going on in the world, these opportunities would have never like happened. And it was because of the pandemic that the Princess Trust was able to help, basically. So they had this grant scheme, I believe it was called the Crisis Grant, and as a Princess Trust backed business, I was eligible to apply for this grant. So a grant you don't pay back, it's not like the loan that I got from them. If you haven't watched my video about how I got funded £5,000 from the Princess Trust, I will again link it. So in order for me to apply for the grant, I had to speak about how the pandemic has affected my business and how this grant is going to help sustain my business into the winter, which I guess at the time was when they thought that, you know, the world would probably start trying to go back to normal, which, you know, it hasn't, but we moved. So I made my application and I was awarded just under £5,000. Guys, that was my biggest savior. Like, I think back and I think, okay, so Teddy, if you hadn't received that money, what would you have done? Where are these coming from? And another thing that has also been my saving grace is this channel. Like, being able to sit down and talk to you guys and having like another focus, the editing and all that kind of stuff that I love. And it just kind of takes my attention away from the everyday running of Shiva and allows me to, you know, explore my creativity in another sense. So what would I have done different if I'd seen my future? The first thing that I would have done is I would have made sure that I'd paid using PayPal through and through. That first payment was made using PayPal, and that closing payment would have been made using PayPal. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if I'd argued my point of paying using PayPal, there's nothing that they really could have really said, because they've already produced the garments. They need the rest of their payment. So really and truly, I had the upper hand at that point. I would have stuck to my guns and just paid using PayPal through and through. I would have listened. I would have listened to the people that said do not go down that rabbit hole. I would have listened, and I would have, you know, spent a little bit more time actually researching into looking for a manufacturer, not just looking for, you know, the cheaper option. I would have listened. And the other thing I would have done, I wouldn't have booked a pop-up. Like, who actually, I feel like a lot of people do this, but who books a pop-up with no stock? If I knew, I would have not done that. And it's not something that I will ever... Will I? Nah. It's not something that I will ever do again. Like, I will never book something, like, whether it be a pop-up, a fashion show. I will never book something without me having seen my stock first. One of the main things I would have done differently is not have been so lazy. And what I mean by that is I was so fixated on making sure that everything is done under one house. From doing the patterns to doing the bulk order and all the little things that come in between, which are a lot of things, which I suppose you lose control because you're relying on one company to basically produce everything that you need from start to finish. Obviously, I done the designs, I done the tech packs, but they literally done everything else. Everything else was in their control. But now that I've learned, now that I've gained knowledge, I've taken time out to actually research all the different processes when it comes to producing a whole collection, I am more inclined to break it up and use different companies for different things. So now that I've broken up the process, it is a little bit more time consuming and it is definitely a little bit more hands-on, but it means that I have a lot more control over what is actually happening. So now I have somebody that makes the patterns for me. Actually, I say I have someone that makes the patterns for me, to be honest. Actually, no, that is a video for another day. I'll talk to you about patterns and all that kind of jazz because I think that's a really good video in itself. So somebody for the patterns, I have somebody for the fabrics, I have somebody that's doing the sampling, and those same people are doing the CMT, which stands for cut, make, trim. When I was looking for a manufacturer, I was avoiding companies that just done cut, make, trim because, like, I was like, so what, you mean that I have to source the fabrics, I have to source the trims and all that kind of stuff? No, like, that's a lot. But now that's kind of sort of how I'm working, because it means that every single stage I'm able to control what is happening, which means that there's less of a chance of things going wrong. And this is something that I'm going to be documenting on this channel. So I will be starting that series really soon of, you know, producing the winter collection. I'm going to have a whole intro video about it, so I'm not going to go into it too much now, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to making that series. You guys will be along for the journey with me and seeing whether it works, and you know, I hope it will, God willing. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. I hope I didn't ramble on for too long. Like, gosh, filming this video was actually long because, like, first I had the bin men, then I had some people digging, and it was just it was all over the place. So please guys, don't forget to subscribe. Guys, please subscribe. You can literally click, which side is it? I think it's here. You can literally click right here and subscribe, like right now. Please subscribe, and don't forget to drop a like and drop a comment, drop a that I'm still here, I'm still breathing, and I'm still shavoshivaring. I'm still shavoshivaring, you know? Yeah. Thank you guys, bye.